Hi, John.
Hey, Alex.
Do you know what I hate?
What's that?
I hate the Justice League.
Them all out.
I wish there was a version of this movie, not the Snyder cut. But I wish there was a version of this movie that put, instead of subtitles, put Whedon or Snyder underneath the scenes they shot. Because I don't know who to blame. Because I like Joss Whedon. I used to like Joss Whedon. I think his first bunch of shows were really good. And his first Marvel thing was quite good. So, he's a really competent filmmaker. But this is such slapped together, not cohesive, shallow movie making. And I don't know where to put the blame. And I don't get it.
Yeah. It's hard. Like, there are certain things that, like, some of the levity in it, I assume is, I automatically assume is Whedon, simply because Snyder is so dour and grim. But what I would like to see is a version of this movie that came out after the Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg movies had come out. Like the Avengers did, because they spend a lot of time in this movie introducing new characters and not really doing it that well. For as much as, I remember we talked about in Batman vs. Superman, they did the post-credit sequence in the middle of the movie. They just didn't. They needed to do a lot more other movies to these people before they brought them all together.
Yeah, it's my number. I was gonna say it's my number one complaint, but I mean that's a tall order. Yeah, I don't know what you would see with this film if you weren't conversant in comic books, because I'm fairly well versed in comics. I'm not a huge DC guy. Coming up, I was mostly Marvel, but I know the characters reasonably well. I don't think I've ever really read a Wonder Woman book, or Aquaman, but I know who they are from reading Justice League titles or whatever. But as a non-comic book person, I don't know how the fuck you watch this movie, and not that it doesn't make sense, but give a shit about anything.
Well, it's very tough because first of all, it's ugly. It is an ugly film. Like the CG is not great. Just the landscapes are just ugly.
Yeah.
It's not, not even like Batman versus Superman had a look to it. This is just ugly. I don't know how to better describe it. Like, a lot of the CG stuff looks really not great comparatively. I'm not sure where things went off the rails, but it's just not it just seems like a mishmash of all kinds of stuff rather than having kind of a specific look or feel to it.
Yeah, and it feels unfinished in a way. And I think that comes down to, I don't know the background of what happened with the whole movie process. If you do, let's have you tell them. But it doesn't feel like a cohesive, finished film. It stinks of infighting. If I didn't know a little bit about what happened, I would have said, oh, this movie has all the fingerprints of the studio getting involved in the edit.
Yeah, well, I still think there's probably some of that, because Zack Snyder had to leave the project due to a personal tragedy, and then Joss Whedon, sort of being done with comic book stuff a little bit, graciously stepped in and took over. And I'm sure that lends to some of it, but a lot of it just seems like it was a movie made of script notes, be more Marvel-y.
Yeah.
The studio kind of coming down or something like that.
The entire film feels like trailer moments, and not cool trailer moments. It's this kind of ADD filmmaking where it's not like, I forget what other movie we were talking about where it doesn't stay on a shot for more than 2 seconds.
I was like, Suicide Squad was like that.
Yeah, but this actually the shots worked, but they don't work together. The shots worked if they were going to be in a 5-minute preview to the film, not in a sequence in the actual film. So completely out of order. The introduction of Aquaman, or one of the introductions of Aquaman, is Jack White we're gonna go to Mexico, this cool rock thing, and he's walking out of the water, and he's fucking buff, dude, looks all good. That's one. Just pacing-wise, that doesn't fit in the movie. 2, you don't do that in a movie. That's for the trailer. It's such a shallow, useless thing, and it would make sense in the trailer, because that would be cool in a trailer.
Well, there's that same kind of trite shit throughout it. The opening credit sequence is the same kind of bullshit that's in every trailer now, where it's some sad
it is
pop song. It's a Leonard Cohen song.
leave Leonard Cohen alone.
Well,
I like Leonard Cohen.
But you know what? As much as no one wants this, I would take this Leonard Cohen thing over the thing where it's like, oh, here's this hip song, like here's Hanson's Mbop, but saying all sad.
Oh yeah.
And like it's that kind of shit that like is just so on the nose of like I don't know. It's so played out at this point. Like the first time you heard it was interesting, but now that whole concept is sort of played out, and then it's just so on the nose of like, oh, the world's in torment of like here's how you're supposed to feel, audience, which is still going off our conversation about Batman versus Superman. The world is apparently very upset that Superman is dead. Really? Because everyone seemed to hate him. And I don't feel like there was enough there for everyone to turn around and be like, no, it turns out he's great. Like everyone died over here. We know it was Lex Luthor and stuff like that because they don't, we talk about the end of the movie. They don't do a great job of telling you what exactly Lex Luthor was in jail for. And some of the same problems people had with Superman, I doubt I doubt those went away.
Well, I think this time when he beat up the exact same bad guy, except, slightly mutated, he did it on an island that they really forced themselves to say is wasn't inhabited at the time. But so yeah, you're right. It doesn't make sense that the world is like super sad.
No, it makes sense for Batman to like, and I think Ben Affleck actually does like a pretty decent job with this, to be like, he's kind of like reinvigorated that like, okay, I screwed up. This guy was actually really good and I need to try to make this right.
His story arc, and there's a few things I actually liked about this movie, and his story arc was one of them. If they had built it better, so one, let's just, every time I'm going to talk about what a better movie could have existed, let's just assume all of the individual character movies had already come out. Mm-hmm. We'd already seen a Cyborg movie, and Cyborg I don't think needs his own movie, but whatever. You've already seen...
I disagree. I think I was mostly fascinated by, and they drop this, and then they talk about the beginning, and they completely drop it, where he's like, okay, so you put weird technology in me that is constantly changing, and I don't understand it. So, I mean, there's all kinds of body horror stuff. You could even be like, oh, a weird sort of puberty analogy, or even just sort of the black body existing in white America. Do all kinds of things with that. And they just went, no, he's basically just the internet, and like his technology can do whatever we need it to. And that's it.
All right, so granted. All right, so let's say that movie had come out. So we're familiar with all these characters. I would have liked this Batman arc of him going, oh, fuck, we really needed Superman. Now that we've got this like looming threat that I've been concerned with, it's finally happening. I like him putting the team together. I hated every instance of him talking to the team.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of liked him with Diana a little bit. But that arc would have been cool for a movie. And it makes me more annoyed at the film because it's like, oh, fuck. Like, if you had just like not written this like a bag of shit, you could have had such a cool movie of, putting together the ragtag squad, like a Suicide Squad thing, but like doing it well. Like, so, hey, we know these people. Let's go one by one. Convince them. We have the big reveal at the end where Superman comes back. That's fine. That's paced well because you can't have him in the whole movie because he's too powerful. Like, it's almost there. Like, they had the bones, and then instead of putting like muscles and skin on the bones, they wrote the word "pow" and big muscles and music is cool. It's like, no, you need cartilage and muscle.
Yeah,
not Jack White songs and fucking whiskey drinking. God, that was so stupid.
Well, and the thing that makes me say that some of the more levity moments, particularly the Batman making joke stuff, was Joss Whedon, is because Joss Whedon does a really good job of having, his comedy come from the character and not at all shoehorned in and not related to anything that the character would actually like feel or anything like that. So there was a lot of that, and like the whole weird, like in Avengers, a lot of the jokes in between people was like covering up or representing a strife between the people. Like that's the tension, and so we're making these jokes about it. The only people that kind of applied to was Aquaman and Batman, and even then you didn't really feel it. The rest of the time it was just people just saying shit.
Aquaman and Batman, that is the repartee that you're right, that works, except for, and I don't know how you do this, Jason Momoa is charmless in this film. And that I find almost impossible because that man's a charm factory.
Really? Because I've only seen him as like Khal Drogo, and so he's.
Oh, he was great on Stargate Atlantis. He was great as Khal Drogo. That's it. But still, those two, like he's like Stargate Atlantis is a shit show, and he's just his character is basically, I've got long hair and muscles. That's his character. But he was like really charismatic, and same as Game of Thrones. I mean, it's not like he's a good actor.
No, he's a presence, but like
and this he was written like he was a Ninja Turtle.
Basically, well, no, he was written like just this weird badass. The first time you see him, like Batman has tracked him down to some like Scandinavian fishing village, where he shows up every like once a year to deliver fish. Because he's very interested in saving the white race. Like, there's no indication that he does this anywhere else. I just like the idea that he has this deal with this village.
I just assumed that's where Atlantis was.
Quite probably, but they didn't. Yeah, there's nothing to indicate that. But they try to treat him like he's some kind of savior. But I like the idea that there's like some fishing village anywhere else in the world. It's just like, we're so hungry. And he's like, can't hear you. Too busy listening to Jack White. But they really try to turn him into the like stone cold Brian Bosworth, like, I don't play by your rules. I'm this character. Like, I'm the tough guy, whatever. And I couldn't help but think, like, this, if this movie was like actually good and did really well, like this guy would be like, the white trash community would just embrace this dude. Like he would be your Daryl from Walking Dead, like looking like he's sweating Mountain Dew all the time.
100%.
Like he would no longer would people wear large shirts featuring Looney Tunes characters in hip hop gear. It would now be Aquaman t-shirts.
Yeah, this would replace 40% of the WWE's t-shirt market if they had done this well. But really,
if they tied that in, sorry.
If somehow he he breaks through ice in the beginning of the movie to introduce himself, and then they start playing the Stone Cold Steve Austin theme. Perfect, because it's basically what they did.
Oh man, he breaks through the ice, and he's got he's still holding the net that's in the ice, and he pulls out the net, and it's full of natty ice.
Oh,
in
perfect!
There, and he just cracks one open.
It amazes me how he could suck the charm from that man.
Well, and then it just really kind of felt weird. So their interaction is there. Bruce has figured out that it's Aquaman, and Aquaman's like, oh, you really dress up like a bat? That's crazy. And then he takes off his shirt and like floats backward in the water. Like that's just, and I realize that's kind of the point, but it really just, I didn't feel like Aquaman was very powerful in that moment. And then they just, because nothing, that kind of counterpoint or whatever isn't present anywhere else, but they still have the same rapport.
I'm floating this idea. Mm-hmm. Same lines of dialogue, but it's Dave Bautista as Aquaman.
Yeah, perfect.
Someone that's funny, and because then it's like, oh, I would actually enjoy their repartee back and forth.
Let's go back even further. Same lines of dialogue. Dave Bautista's every character.
I don't mind it.
I would,
except it's one of those things where it makes me sad for this generation of Batman films where he's good at this. Like he plays a good Batman.
I like his Bruce Wayne. I like his Batman is like, I like his Bruce Wayne a lot, because his Bruce Wayne is like Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne, as we talked about on the show, is like this weirdo guy who's like pretending to be a drunk playboy. This Batman, I think, is like, there in the last movie, there were some references to him like drinking too much, like that. But just some of the stuff he does, like at the end of the movie when he's like, how did you save my mom's house? I bought the bank. Like, he even starts saying like, it's just kind of a thing with me.
Yeah, it's kind of a reflex. Yeah.
This weird psychopath guy, and is miserable and just has all this money. And I kind of like that like weird seething anger in him and stuff like that. I think Ben Affleck actually does that pretty decently.
But that's what I mean. That's why I like him as Batman in this, because Batman doesn't need to be in this as Batman, because Batman's not in this. Mm-hmm. It's Bruce Wayne and then the powerful people.
Yeah, which is so weird. So at one point when you see, I don't know who's giving the speech to them, but it's all of the Justice League lined up, and it's Batman without his cowl. And it looks so weird, because he's all like perfectly coiffed and whatever. And he's just like, yes, I'm Bruce Wayne. And so it felt, at no other point in Ben Affleck being Batman did I feel like that was totally out of place, other than right then.
Yeah. The other person that wins, so I liked Wonder Woman this as well, but the other person that wins is Jeremy Irons as Alfred.
Love him.
The phrase, one misses the days when one's biggest concerns were wind-up penguins.
Yeah.
I was just, that made me so happy. I'm like, this is the movie I want. I want quippy Alfred that's not just going, I want him to start dating. Like, he remembers the past.
Yeah, well, and it's also that scene lends to, so like, I forget what they're watching a news report about, but like Alfred's like, I don't recognize this world. And Bruce Wayne is like, neither do I, but it doesn't matter. I just need to save it. And it's like, that's basically this movie. In that, no, it doesn't matter. This stuff, it doesn't matter. There's some powerful guys that are going to save the world. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
And this movie, I couldn't, it's so just shallow. I just keep going back to that point. There's just nothing, there's no depth. I don't care about anything other than, Batman, a little bit of Wonder Woman, but that's only through her talking to Batman.
Yeah, that wouldn't bother me as much if this wasn't supposed to be some sort of like tent pole of a franchise.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be this like culminating moment of these things happening. If it was just like there have been no other movies leading up to this, just like, here's a superhero movie and like we're just gonna jam all together. It feels like a TV show, like an episode of a TV show. Like there's gonna be more after this next week.
Yeah.
But this is the pilot episode.
No, you're absolutely right. It's not fully fleshed out. Here's a small note from the movie. Cyborg's dad.
Yes, the wonderful Joe Morton.
Can that guy stop working with cyborgs? Because he's the one that nearly killed the world in Terminator 2.
That's true. Yeah. He
needs to be banned from cybernetics. So his dad built him. Now here's one of the things about the whole we didn't get the movies first.
Yeah.
Do we ever hear Cyborg's name? Did they name him?
I think so. Yeah, because they talk about him. There's like some download that Alfred is given to Bruce Wayne or someone's given to Bruce Wayne, where they're looking at him like he was a football star.
Yeah,
and they name him there, and then he mysteriously blew up, and then that's sort of like I think that precedes that scene. But yeah, they give him a name. I don't remember.
What I mean is like his character name is Cyborg in the comic books.
Yeah.
I don't think they name him Cyborg in the movie.
No, but they also don't refer to him.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, that's kind of fucked up. Yeah. One of your main characters literally doesn't have a name in this movie. That's how much they care about the characters in this. Yeah. And also, well, now that I think about it, I don't think the Flash was named either.
Probably not. But that guy can...
Okay.
Yeah.
Grant Gustin from the TV's Flash.
Okay.
Is a million times better than this asshat, and they should have just had him.
Yeah. Well, that is... largely a big stupid thing outside of just the movie itself, the sort of the meta of the movie, is this was an amazingly dumb move on their part. Like, if you want to get all like businessy about it. So Marvel has this Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it like loosely after like, I think it was after Civil War, maybe it came out. I don't remember exactly, but it sort of loosely ties into everything else. So you have this other world going on, but it still ties into everything. Much of the same way that all their Netflix shit like exists in its own little world, but like, the incident that happened in the first Avengers movie, they still talk about. They have this perfectly serviceable, albeit, apparently pretty zany or whatever, but beloved franchise on television that they just went, nah. We don't need that shoe-in audience. Who needs that?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they sort of just eschewed all that to have this guy and this store brand Tom Holland from the Marvel movies.
Yes.
And like, look at up stuff about this movie. This kid got a lot of praise and he's fine, I guess. But I found that character so tiresome. And that's like, that to me that character was extremely Whedon-y. And it's a lot of what I don't like about Whedon, where it's just like all these like really forced jokes. And then his reaction to everything is to have a funny quip about it. And that just gets tiresome.
Yeah, I didn't even think he did a good job. It was so poorly written. It's just the only thing I liked about it, and just because it goes against convention, is when Bruce Wayne's in his place and he comes in and he goes, "What are you doing in here?" He goes, "I'm Bruce Wayne." And he's like, "That doesn't answer anything." Yeah. That's the one line I like, because like that is such a comic book thing to go, "I'm Bruce Wayne," and then just expect, "Oh, well, that answers everything." It's, well, what the? No, you can't just say that. But also, I mean, he's probably a very famous rich man. That's like if Elon Musk was in this room when we walked in to do the podcast and you go, "Hey, what the fuck's going on?" And he goes, "I'm Elon Musk." We wouldn't go, "Well, that doesn't answer anything." Right. We'd go, "All right, well, I mean, I know who you are, Mr. Musk. Thanks for visiting, but why are you in a basement apartment? Like, do you want to be at a podcast that 4 people have listened to? What the fuck's happening?"
So there was one moment at the end when he's sent to save some civilians, and he's like, like, go east, and he just immediately starts taking off, and then like he's like, "I hope this is east."
That's the other line I have written.
There's several stuff in this movie, and I even wrote a note about. There's several stuff in this movie that I'm like, there's a lot of stuff I'm begrudgingly accepting. It's like, well, okay, like, all right, that was all right. Like the whole Aquaman ends up sitting on sitting on Wonder Woman's lasso. It's like, okay, all right, that was actually like, I have issues with it, but as a bit, it's kind of funny.
It's fine. It's just it's in such a shitty movie. It's hard to like it.
Well, it's the problem is that it's used as like, we can't actually write a scene with him giving him character depth. So we're just going to do this in this little speech and it's going to be a joke, which like, that's a clever way to do it, but I also feel cheated at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, instead of actually giving him something to do or giving him depth, you just use the joke to kind of try to do that. And it just seems obvious what you were trying to do.
Oh, speaking of how terrible this movie is, what is a Steppenwolf? Because that's like a band name, right?
It's a band name, but it's also I think he's one of 1 second. Let me.
Yeah, he's one of Darkseid's minions,
right?
But like, what do you, like? What's his deal?
It doesn't matter. So I've complained in on the pod before about yes, but specifically about like superhero movies and like shooting a laser into space. And so they didn't do that. Although they did have the boom tube, which went into space. That's how they traveled around and teleported. But like, this guy was just a living laser that was shot into space. Like there was nothing to him. He's like, no, he's this guy, and he's going to use these 3 things, and then he's going to terraform the world to be like his home world. Okay, well, couldn't he just go to his home world or something? Like, is there someone no, he's just going to destroy the world. That's all you need to know. And I'm kind of glad they didn't directly tie him to Darkseid simply because...
Well, he says Darkseid at one point.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Okay, I must have just tuned it out. Because the thing with the Marvel movies and leading up to Thanos is they at least sort of went like, okay, here's some bad guys, but they're all in service to this bigger bad guy. And here's this bigger bad guy being mean and terrible to them. So he's more powerful than them. This guy is essentially, Steppenwolf is essentially Lee Pace's character in Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't even remember that guy's name. The villain in Guardians of the Galaxy, who was just not even there. He's just like, I've got a hammer. Blooga, blooga, blooga.
Yeah, the one, the one with the dance off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either. Yeah.
But that's it. Like, he is as in-depth as that guy. But there's nothing, other than, like, I guess mentioning Darkseid, like, there's nothing behind him. Like, there's nothing, he's not an interesting character.
And he looks like shit. His CGI is garbage.
Just not... Yeah, his character design is not interesting. He looks like a mid-boss in a video game.
Oh, and he's got a mid-boss video game voice too.
Yeah.
That voice is a really poor choice. Like,
well, it's also that voice being like, you basically have Batman doing that voice already. That's super boomy, whatever. And it's just that, but with a different accent. And the voice acting was fine, I guess, but just the character was just so...
It's not necessarily the voice acting; it's the effect they put on it. It sounded like just video game voice.
Yeah.
But I go back to my question: what is a Steppenwolf? Because why is there a band called that? Are they named after this asshole?
I don't know. You read books?
Is it? Well, I thought you would know. I assumed there's a comic book thing. Actually, I didn't think you'd know. I just forgot to look it up. I'm gonna look it up right now, unless that's what you're doing.
Is the 10th novel by German-Swiss author Hermann Hesse, originally published in Germany in 1927.
All right.
The novel was named after the lonesome wolf of the steppes. So there you go.
No, but that makes sense. All right, so it's based on a novel. Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's not. I that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so
well, it's another example of like, I don't know. I like Jack Kirby stuff. As far as comics, I like the design of it. But like the phrase "mother box," which is what those 3 devices are that he uses to terraform worlds. That's a very silly phrase. To all these people that are just like, he's like, mother mother is hungry or whatever the hell he says. Like, it's trying to give him some sort of like weird psychosexual thing that's not really present.
What's extra bad about that for me is having watched the Justice League comics, I kept thinking of the grandma character that lives on Darkseid's world.
Oh, Granny Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because she was associated
so badass if it was Granny Goodness.
Yeah. If he goes, mother, I give you these boxes, mother. Granny Goodness shows up. This whole movie would be a million times better for me.
Because she is badass.
Audience at home, like, Grandma Goodness, it's literally like just this old lady. Like, she's
but she's mean as hell.
Yeah,
like,
she's like 5'4", long gray hair. Like, she's just some old lady, but she's like this badass mead lady that like half runs like a planet that's like got like basically run by like space Hitler. It just the worst man in the world, and she's his second in command. It's just this sweet, like, it looks like she's baking pies.
Yeah.
But so every time he said mother, I just kept thinking about her. I'm like, this is not upping the dramatic level for me.
Yeah. And it was and just it like all of it was very perfunctory. Like, because there's 3 boxes. Oh, and by the way, the introduction to these 3 boxes. Have you seen Lord of the Rings?
Thank you. I've
literally
the point I was about to make.
It was so like on the nose to the point where it didn't feel like a nod to, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of a good counter example. for this. It's something where it's like it's exactly the same as this, but almost like how Army of Darkness, his like putting together his chainsaw hand is supposed to be reminiscent of Travis Bickle building his gun arm thing in Taxi Driver. It wasn't even like that. It wasn't even like an homage. It was like, no, this is the entrance to Lord. They even call it like the Tribes of Man or something like that.
No, you know what this is? This scene was to Lord of the Rings as Transmorphers is to Transformers.
Yeah.
You know, those cheap knockoff movies that they make for, $80 and they make $81 in DVD sales.
Yeah. So it was, it's because the Mother Box, they defeat all the tribes get together. So there's the Amazonians, the Atlanteans, and humans.
And gods.
Yeah. Get together to fight Steppenwolf, who came to Earth to just destroy it, I guess. And they fight him back, and as a result, he loses those 3 Mother Box things. He needs to terraform it.
But why not just terraform like Neptune? If you're going to terraform it, why terraform a place with...
But that might be the only copy of what that he has.
Like, no, but I mean, why even go to Earth in the first place where there's gods and whatnot? If it's a terraforming device, just go to like a different planet. You could go to literally any planet
because it's to conquer. I don't know. It does.
Yeah, no, but that's right. I want some character. Like, I don't need a lot of character for my big bad guy, but just some small amount of I really hate life, or my master told me to kill these people. Fine, that's cool. But say it. Give me a reason.
Yeah. So there's a whole, again, Lord of the Rings action sequence of them fighting him back, and he drops these boxes, and they all split them up. We're all learning about this, by the way. Like Diana is just telling Bruce Wayne this, and so we're seeing this CG flashback.
She's like, and then Bruce, they took the shards of Narsil. I mean, the 3 boxes.
Yeah, and the Amazonians have one, the Atlanteans have one, and then man has just buried his somewhere.
Because that makes sense, given man's proclivity towards, greed and lust for power. They would go, this massive, powerful thing. Yeah, let's just bury it in Leeds. Like,
we'll just bury it in a place where no one knows where it is. Everyone that buried it is like, okay, I will come back later tonight and just steal it. But no, they don't, because man is inherently good, I guess.
Yeah, that fits with this universe.
Yeah, and while this is going on the whole time. Like, I don't know, how does Cyborg even know that they're there? Because somehow he's tapping into something.
No, Cyborg holds his hands together, and out of nowhere, a film reel that shows him that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and that Diana Prince is Wonder Woman, just scrolls in the middle of his hands with no backstory, no nothing. It literally just shows up.
Because he says that. So this technology keeps changing. He has a language in his head that he doesn't know. It's whatever this technology is, and he's getting all of a sudden he can float, and he's like, I couldn't do that yesterday. So. This technology is just sort of like doing things beyond his control, but seemingly sort of leading him somewhere, I guess. I don't know. He's very much like Bender in Futurama, where they're like, we're not going to define what Bender can or can't do, so we can have him do whatever when we need him to.
Yeah.
And in Futurama, that's great. And that's real dumb.
I picked up on that too, how real dumb that was.
Yeah, because it's just really convenient that he's able to do whatever he needs to, or that he can't, I don't know. He's just at the whim of the plot in terms of that stuff.
The other side to him is like how little human he is really took away from the character for me.
Right.
Like, I don't know the character super well. I've seen it in cartoons a bit, but like, I think the cyborg aspect is interesting when you're a lot human.
Yeah.
And then you've got cyborg attachments that are kind of taking over. But the way they made him was there's a bit of face skin.
There's a face, yeah.
And like this, they ruined for me too with Nebula in the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Or no, it was in Infinity War or whatever, where she's all dismantled, like being tortured, and you see that she's basically just a robot.
Yeah.
That kind of ruins character for me, because like, well, you're not human anymore.
Right.
Like, I know you are, and that's sort of, but it's
the same way, like, to take it aside here, it's the same way, like, when I find out, like, in several, like, video games and movies have done this, where it's like, there's infinite universes, right? Then why do I care about what's happening in this one? Because, like, if I didn't save the girl in this universe, there's a girl that I did in the other universe.
Yeah.
So who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like my empathy for whatever's going on, or like I think some time travel stuff is like that, where it's like, why don't you just go back in time and fix that? You know?
And for me, it just lowers the kind of the way I can empathize with a character to a point where I already don't care that much because there's no character building. I forgot there's one more thing about The Flash that was good. Again, leads to a much better movie where he mentions that he speaks sign language, especially gorilla sign language, which is direct reference to Gorilla Grodd.
Gorilla Grodd, yeah.
Which would be a million times better than Space Guy. I already Steppenwolf. Like it's a million times better.
Right. Well, it's also just there are little things like the growth of the character that I kind of like where he talks about when they get into like their first big action thing, like they're going to confront Steppenwolf, and he's like, all I've done is just shoved a couple people. I like that he's this nascent crime fighter, but he's confronted with something bigger. Just because I always like the idea of the Flash, and again, like this sort of speaks to what you were saying earlier about like, well, if you're a comic fan, this would, how do you translate that to this movie? Of like the Flash and some of the other Justice League iterations, like Justice League Unlimited, where all his villains are just goofy and he's just kind of a goof himself, and it's all like nothing really feels at stake. Like there's a bit in the Justice League Unlimited cartoon where like the Trickster, he just sees the Trickster voiced by Mark Hamill at a diner. I was like, hey, shouldn't you be in jail? And he's like, no, you got me.
Yeah.
And then he just,
I actually love that. No, what he went to was the Villains Bar.
Oh,
There's
right.
a bar that all the villains of Central City
I believe that's
hang out at. And he went to go talk to one. He's like, hey, you're not supposed to be out. He's like, basically, dude, you really need me to catch you? He's like, no, go back to prison, which I kind of adore.
Which I kind of like that kind of, I'd much rather have the Flash be almost this like do-goody jock than the like, oh boy, nebbish guy.
I mean, that was the other part of the Flash that I didn't like in this, where it was just the kind of it was just the goofy, really took it away. And
it's because there was so much of it.
Yeah,
there was everything was like, just did I mention I'm afraid of spiders or whatever?
Yeah.
It just leans
like
so
they get to the
heavily on
Bat Cave and he's just running around. Oh, it's Bat Cave. It's an actual cave with bats. And look at this. What's this? And it's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, and it's not like cute. Like, oh, you're a little kid character. It's like it's an irritating thing that should be stepped on.
Yeah. Which, speaking of that scene, so when they finally eventually get everyone together and they're talking about what's going on, Cyborg starts like telling his whole story and like what's kind of going on with him. The whole time during that scene, it's cutting to everyone else looking at him telling the story. And I talked about this a little bit in Batman v Superman, where it's like, so you don't care about Cyborg because this scene is no longer about Cyborg. It's about them reacting to Cyborg. And this is like the most human moment you've given this character at this point. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. We don't need to focus on him.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think they actually named the character in the film.
Right.
So
like, well,
just,
that's, it's just trying to do a lot. It's trying to do way too much. And it's unfortunately for the amount that it's trying to do, but it's only 2 hours long compared to the non-ending.
Yeah, it's a long 2 hours though.
It is a very, like the first hour I was kind of on board, but hour two.
Once it kind of changed into the other movie at about hour two. Yeah. The other trailer line, which was, just 100%, there's no depth to this. What's your superpower again? I'm rich. Mm-hmm. Oh, fuck you. Yeah. That's such bullshit fucking, that it's just, it adds nothing to the film.
Yeah, that feels very Joss Whedon to me.
Yeah, you're probably right. But it's
just like, it sounds good.
But Joss Whedon, it just, I mean, again, this more goes back to his earlier stuff, is he's so good at character building, but I guess you don't have room for it here, or he didn't have. It's just, oh boy, did I hate.
Well, Joss Whedon needs to take time to make characters. Like all first seasons of his shows aren't generally very good.
Yeah, that's true. So during this, I mean, basically, Cyborg talks and blah blah, blah, and for some reason they have to. This goes to the first big set fight piece where they're in that underground tunnel, which I don't remember why they were in that underground tunnel.
They needed a thing that was there. I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you.
I guess Steppenwolf was there? I know they fight Steppenwolf there, but I don't remember.
1 second. Let me look this up so I can pretend that this.
Oh, while you're looking that up, we also, and this is such just awful, clumsy storytelling, is they just cut to some random Russian family for no good reason. Now, I know we go back to them later, but you can't just cut to some random Russian family with a fucking movie that's based in Gotham. That's such shitty filmmaking.
So we've had all the like meet cute scenes of him getting the team together, and we skipped over this, but the Wonder Woman one, I actually really enjoyed, and I never saw the movie. So I have one question that maybe you can answer, because I'm kind of unfamiliar with Wonder Woman as a character.
Yeah.
For the most part, I didn't know she was like a cat burglar, because in the last movie and in this one, she sneaks into like past millions of dollars of security. Like Bruce is fixing the Batmobile or something. He's like, you know how much I spent on this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then later when they're trying to sneak in somewhere else, she's not.
Well, she's the daughter of a god.
Right.
So I just think that's just kind of like, yeah, she can do stuff.
Okay. I mean, fair enough. I don't know what exactly answer I wanted, but it just seemed like she's more of a heavy, like a brute force kind of thing.
I think she is in the comics, but whatever. I mean, literally, if your dad's God, I think you can kind of write off a couple of like,
a god.
Also, that was really subtle the way she's introduced standing on a fucking statue of justice.
Right. Yeah. Although I did like, so when she's like violating, she's breaking up some bank robbery or something like that, and when they're shooting. The guy's going to go shoot some hostages and she's blocking them all with her wrist guards.
Yeah.
I was like, that's really cool. And then she turned around and like, there's some awful exchange of dialogue and I can't remember what it is now. But.
Oh yeah. That scene was great. I love the speed that she runs versus everybody. Oh, by the way, that car was a car full of Jason Statham's. I don't know if you noticed. Yeah. It's all just bald European men.
Which this movie, I think did a very good job of, and I've decided to credit Whedon with this since we don't know. But like playing off of Zack Snyder's predilection for slow motion, because like in the credits when like it goes to slow motion, guys upturning a thing of oranges. It's like, really, like what is this? But then some of the ways they play with that a little bit with the way the Speed Force works, whereas the Flash, everything else is slow motion, but the Flash moving fast, and her doing the same thing, like dodging bullets in slow motion, and like some of the way they play with that later, you see the Flash like. She's reaching for a sword that's flying away from her, and he runs around and just touches it.
Well, that's in the underwater battle sequence.
Yeah, but it's just little things like that I thought like dovetailed nicely with that bullshit addiction of Zack Snyder's.
Yeah, it's true. I think there probably was kind of a comment on that, or Zack Snyder maybe just learned what he was doing a little bit.
Yeah, or like just got it right for once.
After the underwater battle sequence, which is kind of like they lose a little bit.
Right.
This is where the big decision happens. That's where I just want to kind of reset to.
Right. Yeah. But the thing that bothers me about this underwater battle is a couple of things. So they go there by virtue of they have a conversation with Jim Gordon because they get to Gotham and the bat signal goes up and they go to Jim Gordon, who's played by J.K. Simmons in a thankless role, and I really like J.K. Simmons.
Yeah,
but I mean Gordon kind of always is, and they have a discussion about where this thing is and where they need to go in the under Gotham Harbor. Like they all leave. They do the Batman to take off thing, which was why would the Flash not notice that they're gone? He's whatever.
Yeah,
getting pedantic. But they leave and then like cut to them landing in the thing and Bruce as Batman going, all right, Alfred, where are we? You guys just talked about it.
Yeah.
There was a scene right before this.
Yeah, you mean where they like spend time with exposition, decide where they're going?
Like what? Like that drove me crazy. I actually reminded to make sure I heard that right. And then when they go to try to find Steppenwolf or whatever, at the end of that fight, like Cyborg, Batman gets one of his vehicles down there. And you know what it does when it's down there? Shoots guns because Batman uses a lot of guns.
Yeah, well, I think we just have to, like, we're a few movies into having to
No,
just
I know,
with
but
that.
I think the whole notion of Batman not using guns in general is poppycock. Because, like, even the Tim Burton movie, the Batmobile had machine guns on it. Batman uses guns.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's this weird, like, spidery thing that comes down, sort of saves them. Cyborg is able to, like, tap into it to drive it, and then it just, like, runs out of batteries. Like, they're like, the water is rising. Like, Steppenwolf has struck the side of the wall. Water's coming in, water's rising, but paradigms are still after them. Then they're all holding on to the spider thing as it's crawling up the wall. It runs out of juice. And then, I don't remember what Cyborg hears, but he hears something and then takes off. Barry Allen goes, did he just bail on us? And then they're fine. Then cut to, they're fine.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that whole scene then? What were you building up tension for? And then they're fine.
Well, they're building up tension because they needed to get to 2 hours.
Oh my God. But it's like the bullshit, like 1940 serial where it's, you see someone drive off the cliff and then next week you see him jump off.
Yeah, it's literally
but that was even if you made me wait for next week, it'd be I don't know, but it's just like the closest analogy I can think of recently is Jaime in Game of Thrones charges at the dragons and then gets dumped into water.
Yeah,
and then next week he's just in a puddle. But there wasn't even that. It was just, no, they're fine.
The other part of that scene, which was very, very stupid, is, and this happens later as well, but Cyborg, apparently, when he plugs into things, make them work better somehow.
Yeah.
Like, he can make a plane fly faster.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because that's could happen. Like, how does alien technology, like, you can't burn fuel faster.
Okay,
I mean, don't let me start it on fucking melting steel beams, 9/11
Right.
truth.
But here's my defense of that. This is PG-13. If this was R... Yeah, if this was somehow trying to be like the serious thing, I'd be like, yeah, that's real dumb. But this is this is for teenagers, and as a teenager, I would absolutely go, yes, yeah, no, he would he's optimized it.
I guess.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's.
I spent a long time at this movie trying to meet it at its level. I didn't expect much out of this thing, but there was a certain point, there's certain stuff that I just okay, all right, that's happening. But I couldn't do it with other stuff.
So speaking of this being your PG-13 movie, they have a conversation, then decide to resurrect a god.
Right.
Via the mother box? Because they got the mother box.
1/3 of the Unity, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, it's a good thing we got the Flash here. And they're like, okay, so what we have to do is drop the mother box in this amniotic fluid that did we really need a scene of Cyborg and the Flash digging up the corpse of Clark Kent?
Yeah, I guess.
That was weird.
Yeah.
And also, he tries to go for a fist bump and he starts mumbling and then goes racially insensitive or something.
Yeah.
No, it's not. You're just trying to do a fist bump. That's just...
Yeah.
Stop it, movie.
Yeah.
So anyway, they dig up the corpse of a fucking hero.
Uh-huh.
They drop it in this amniotic fluid. They drop the mother box in and the Flash has to run around and hit it with lightning. Which could have been a cool scene, except for they went within one scene the decision to dig up a dead friend and resurrect him. They spent more time on lunch plans earlier in the film. They literally spent more time on Aquaman's whiskey addiction than they did on their decision to dig up fucking Superman. So they resurrect him, and turns out, not a great idea at first, because he's apparently coming back from the dead. Not fun, and you're very angry. And this time they don't have Steel and the other fake Supermans that were around the last time he died.
And, yeah, but I'm not gonna lie, I actually enjoyed this scene.
No, I think this is the best sequence of the film,
because honestly, that's what you want out of this crap. You want to see these. It's not just I want Thor and Hulk to be friends. You want to see all right, who could win in a fight, Superman or Batman? And he is inexplicably pissed off, coming back from the dead, but he's cognizant about it as you find out later as the fight progresses. But the bit, so they're fighting, and at some point,
that's my favorite part of the movie.
Where he's got two of them, he's only two of them, and the Flash is all right, well, I'm gonna flash his ass, and gets in the Speed Force, runs past him, and you just see him turn his head.
Yeah, watch his eyes
that was
follow.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was badass.
And unfortunately, it's imagine if that was your villain. The whole movie, but it's that was a really great scene. You see him react and do all this stuff. And because it really asserts that the Justice League is Superman.
Well, that scene, I just want to point out. So during an early conversation with us having to watch this film, I forget if it was on an episode, I said, there's one scene in the movie I actually like and I think you'll like as well. That's the part of it. It's 5 seconds, and that's being generous.
Yeah.
I just hit the eyes following that was badass. Because this is immediately followed by the worst scenes in this movie.
Well, the fight ends with him with Lois Lane pulling up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's just you guys are lucky my girlfriend's here. Otherwise I'd really fuck you up. Because he just stops. He's because he before that even happens, he has a conversation where he picks Batman up by his face, which is fine for the body, I'm sure. But basically gives him this kind of speech about you just can't let me die. But also kind of mentions basically something to the effect of do you even know what anyone wants? You're just you're a weirdo that lives by yourself and deciding justice for everything. And then throws him down, and then Lois pulls up, and he's all of a sudden, as we've talked about in the previous episode, he's a huge creep about Lois, and so immediately stops everything and flies off with her.
Yeah, back to Kansas to try to find himself. And this is okay, sorry. There's another scene previous to this, just that builds that this gets built upon. The Lois talking to Martha scene earlier of their grieving process.
Yes,
is 9 fucking hours long and it doesn't need to be there.
It doesn't need to be there. Like the side section with Van Lane, who ages at a very slow rate, apparently. Like, just cutting between her and Amy Adams, like, you wouldn't know the age difference, that greatly. It seemed like they made her up to be an old woman, is what I'm getting at. Like, Diane Lane ages very well. Which, aside, that scene starts with Lois Lane being at the Journal or whatever, the Daily Planet, and they're watching some news story about some woman complaining about an alien stealing her husband. Was that tied into something?
Yeah, that was the security guard from Star Labs that the guy from T2 talks to.
Okay.
The guy from T2 is leaving Star Labs and he has the conversation with the janitor.
Okay.
That's that guy.
Okay.
I think that's that guy, or maybe I just made that up.
Because they spent a long time with it, and her being like, let me tell you, you beeping aliens, and you beep. I'm like, you're okay, this
Well, because they show the aliens, like, kill
on.
that guy or take him, so I assumed that was him.
Okay.
Or maybe I just copy-edited the movie to make it more...
But yeah, they have this discussion because Martha Kent has lost the farm, and she's like, who needs it? Nuts to that. How are you doing? Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, and it takes forever. So anyway, we just needed to bring that up because then when they go back to the farm, Superman and Lois are basically going like, so you're back from the dead, huh? Like this, I'm not really reacting in any way the way that a human react here.
Right.
And they're standing in this like idyllic Kansas farm
That
thing.
looks like the CG of that was really bad.
Yeah, really awful. And the mom rolls up and there's a touching reunion.
Sure.
Like it's just, this entire sequence is really awkward. And that's why I wanted to call back to that Lois Martha thing where it's every part of this is awkward and it doesn't need to be there. The reunion scene, okay, fine.
Yeah.
That needs to be there. But doesn't even need, it can be literally a cutscene to them hugging in a field, no dialogue.
Yeah.
But for some reason they just linger on this shit for... this is when the movie's supposed to be stepping up into third act badassery.
Right.
And they did have a little badass moment, and then they go, nah, let's go to the most boring state of the Union. And
that's when I texted you,
Korn.
and I was like, why did this movie become another movie?
Yeah.
Because it did like all this momentum that's building up. And I guess you're supposed to be super excited that Superman's back, but as I keep referencing Batman vs Superman, like no goodwill is there for Superman as a character. I feel like the movie rests so heavily on the what Superman is as an idea, but the way they treat him as a character in these movies, like he's not that interesting or he's a creep. He's awful in a lot of ways, and then all of a sudden we're supposed to be like, oh no, but it's a touching reunion.
Yeah,
it would make more sense to have this emotional thing with him and Batman, like
totally.
save like the like. I mean, have like Lois be like, oh my God, you're back. But like save that for the next Superman movie, since that's what we're doing now. Like these movies are large television show series.
Yeah.
Where it's like save some of that.
Well, they did have a bit of a moment with Superman where he's like, you hate me. He's like, well, you don't like me. He's like, well, I don't.
Yeah.
Not.
Again, that felt very Whedon-y, where it's like that's not a Batman reaction. This is a crazy person that does karate on the mentally ill.
Honestly, that felt pretty Batman. I mean, more Batman the Animated Series. That feels like
I think it's like the tone of it felt very Whedon-y. Like I think there's a way to do that joke that just doesn't feel that same kind of. I don't even know how to describe it, but like that hipster autism, kind of like, oh God, social anxiety.
Well, I read it more as he's coming out of his shell because he's talking to Diana, and like now he's like actually talking to other humans about being Batman. So this is like his first steps into, being a competent human. I'm adding so much story to this.
No, but I think it's just
it could be
because these
read
are archetypes.
That way.
These are like Batman is this, from many iterations. But I don't know. It didn't feel natural for that character.
Yeah. So here's where I forget some things. They had the mother box. Mm-hmm. And then they don't have it it's during the Superman fight. Like Steppenwolf just rolls in and like takes the box.
Yeah.
Right?
He's like, thanks guys.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I forgot how like, cause it's just, hey, now the world's going to end.
Yep.
And they're like, hey,
remember that I'm in this movie?
Yeah.
Ha-ha.
It's like, yes, I'm here. Fucking Zod. Wait, no. And they're like, so they all, Superman's back. He's like, yay, we're here being fucking Superman. And they're like, hey, we need to find where Steppenwolf is.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow they figure out that he's in Russia at a decommissioned nuclear plant.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wait, remember those Russian peasants we saw before for no
Right.
reason? Odd how they came back in.
That are
'Cause
being
again,
attacked by the parademons. Yeah.
they why did they show them earlier? It's just such shit
Yeah.
writing. Though I did like the little girl grabbing Russian bug spray.
Well, I did get the sense that it was just sort of like I just took it as setting up like, okay, well, this is separate. This is where Steppenwolf is making his home. Like that's all I took that to be.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just it was just such a like you're gonna have to care for these people later.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, but that gets into a whole thing where because later when stuff's actually going down, that there are civilians still here and you follow them. The Flash ends up saving them. And I get it, but it also drives me nuts is that it's trying to humanize a much larger thing where it's like, okay, well, the world's being destroyed, but like you're putting a human face on it, so it's easier to be, it's the Harry Lime in the Third Man speech about like, what if one of those little dots down there stopped moving? Would you really care? But if you're like seeing the person, this might be more of a thing. However, it's kind of like, and my reference point to this is the movie Armageddon, where Ben Affleck is really worried about Liv Tyler, where it's like, don't blow up the Earth. My girlfriend lives there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole other planet. Like, the stakes are high enough that it feels weird to spend time like, boy, I hope this family makes it,
Yeah, but I'm fine. I'm actually fine with them setting up a family for us to care about to humanize the what's going to happen. But why not just do it in a bad section of Gotham or something?
Well, yeah, it's like
it's just why cut to Russia out of nowhere? Because obviously these are going to be the people we have to care about later, and they're going to be imperiled. Why not do it off of Gotham Harbor? Like,
well, then why? Yeah, it's like then why is one of the parademons in Gotham? Why is because that's one of the first things that happens is Batman lures a parademon that's there for some reason. Why aren't they all just in Russia or whatever? Like, and for comic book logic. Yeah, it absolutely should be in Gotham or Metropolis or something like that. Like this, why wouldn't it be? You would just accept that if that was the case. Like it's buried underneath the museum or something.
Yeah,
you'd be like that makes total sense. So that brings us to this is where the final big fighting thing is going to happen. In that scene where they're fighting, Batman's big plan is to like jump in there and distract all the parademons by playing a siren sound. And he's figured out to use the siren sound because he fought a parademon in Gotham City at the beginning, and it just like blew up. And then later he goes, oh, he heard a sound that made him go crazy. And the extrapolation of that data made no sense to me.
No.
Like there was nothing, like he's just like, so he captures this parademon, shoots there's a little like scuffle, then he shoots it, traps him, and then the thing's just like, bleh, it blows up. And then later he's like, it was the siren. Okay.
I thought I missed something, and I guess I didn't, because I had the same read on that. I thought I missed a bit of dialogue.
And it's like if there was an immediate thing after that, whereas like it happened again, like what is it that's making these every time I catch one of these things? Just a little bit something else there. But no, it's just the thing blows up, and then later when Bruce Wayne is like fixing his car, he's like, play that back. Yeah, it's that one. I just know. And and then like it comes to fruition there, but it's just that felt like some shorthand that needed more stuff there.
Well, I think what you're missing is that bats have really good hearing.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't know.
So that's that's so.
So do rich people?
Asked and answered.
Yeah.
So they're fighting the Steppenwolf. And nothing happens. It's just a battle.
Yeah, it's just a big CG battle, and then you get the Flash gets to go finally be heroic, and Superman gets to be heroic too, and you get a little Superman racing the Flash. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
That was all right, but then the big thing is less fighting Steppenwolf and separating the Unity back into the three mother boxes, and Cyborg is trying to do that, and oh boy, that's tough. That's taking a toll on him, and then Superman shows up. Oh, you got to help me doing that. Is there going to be some blowback? Oh, there might be. And there is, but it doesn't seem that bad. Like, they just kind of go a few feet away. Be dramatic about it. Like, this is a comic book. Fling them.
I did enjoy, and I hated that I enjoyed it, their kind of bitching about how bad that hurt.
Yeah.
Because I did like Cyborg's. Man, even my toes hurt, which I physically I don't even understand how that works.
It was a humanizing moment for both of these otherworldly things,
which I wish happened an hour earlier.
Yeah.
Because we've got 5 minutes left of the movie, and finally I'm like, oh, I care about them slightly.
But also at that point, I stopped quipping. Everyone just stop fucking quipping, please. Because it just doesn't feel natural in this movie. Like, not everyone doesn't need to be Tony Stark. Everyone just stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
But like Superman kind of like making like, I wish I was dead. Okay, that's funny enough. But just in the context of just nonstop, I don't know, not nonstop, but everyone's got a flipping joke.
So they win, and Steppenwolf takes a boom tube back to somewhere.
Well, what happens first is, so then they've saved it. Then Steppenwolf's like, hey, fuck you guys. And then there's a scuffle. It's like it's an afterthought to dispatch the villain.
Yeah.
Because Superman, they break his axe. Superman blows his freezing breath on it, and then someone shatters the axe. And then all of a sudden he feels fear, so all his parademons turn on him.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Because I'm sure, no one else, the Flash didn't feel fear at all. Like it was this very like, and then this happens. Okay,
no, but the Flash felt speed fear.
Oh right, yeah. So his fear was too fast for them to notice, for them to smell. And then and so it's just then Poochie died on the way to his home planet.
Yeah. Well, no, but he gets sucked back to the boom tube, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but this is a point I need to make. The entire point of this movie is dumb for a reason I haven't pointed out yet. The reason that Steppenwolf is attacking now is because Superman's dead.
Right.
Steppenwolf has been available to attack the planet for the past 4,000 years.
Right.
Why not attack 40 years ago?
Because we weren't so sad. Like it was the loss of Superman that drove us to our darkest hour.
But the whole point is he needed to go when they couldn't get beaten up.
Yeah, well, he needed to go when there was where everyone was hopeless, is what it was. So we might have had a drive to fight back, I think was the idea. And if Superman's not there to help us, we're just little babies. We don't know how to.
I took it as literally there was one guy that could beat him up, so he's just
no. Because they all beat him up without Superman.
No, but why not the Dark Ages? Why not come in the Dark Ages?
Because the Atlanteans and the Amazonians were still around. He needed everyone laid low. The Superman was such a powerful figure that even Atlantis was like, boo. Even our whiskey drinking cowboy man can't stop.
Yeah, but Atlantis. It seems like there's 4 people in Atlantis, by the way.
Yeah. Also, good protection system, Atlantis. Just your cube is just there.
Yeah, it's just there. There's one guy. There's one guy with a fucking trident.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed. That was the other bit of quip that I liked, where Aquaman is making fun of Batman for him, being just a guy in a suit, and he goes, "You brought a pitchfork,"
right? Yeah.
Which I did enjoy because he brought a pitchfork.
And this is a thing I guess just more about Aquaman as a character that I don't understand.
He can talk to fish, yes.
Yeah, no, but just so he's nigh invulnerable, because he falls from the sky, through buildings.
Yeah,
and then, he can just leap off the Batmobile, just high up, and it's just sort of no, he's a superhero, so that's part of being a superhero. I think his land dad in the comic books was some kind of god or something as well. I may be confusing him with Namor, Prince of the Sea. But I believe in the comic books he's badass on land as well. I don't know his character that much because it's pretty dumb. Though there's a cool comic book arc where he gets all dark and he had to chop his own hand off to save his kid. That was badass. Yeah.
The rest of it was a lot of talking to fish.
Yep.
Though I did like also him asking, so do can you talk to fish? Can you put some fish?
And again, those quips, that kind of we're jockeying for masculinity made a lot of sense, but just flashing quipping at everything just got so tiresome.
And so the movie kind of wraps up with one of the things I hate the most about films, and I don't think I've said this in the show before. I hated the most on Star Trek DS9 where Jake Sisko is writing, and you hear the narrative voice of what he's writing. And this is Lois Lane doing it. In the darkest hour, we came forth, and you hear this. It's it's hack on a fundamental level. And then me coming from a writing background, no one writes like that. No one. It's just it's.
The best journalist at the Daily Planet writes like that.
There's a scene with whatever her name is, a redhead lady from in the Daredevil Netflix show There's a scene where she's staring at a blinking cursor, trying to think of what to write, and then she goes,
like the end of a Doogie Howser episode.
Yeah, no, it is. It's the end of a Doogie Howser episode. That is exactly what it is. And it annoys the shit out of me. This movie ends with that, with Lois Lane doing this voiceover of like, oh, and then he won and blah, blah, blah. It's like, but I mean, really, the stakes, I guess, on paper were high, but really it was just another CGI guy that was good at punching. Right. And this time they punched far away from most people.
Yeah. Thank you.
But thankfully the team was there because, I mean, again, let's just take another step back. You don't need the Justice League. All they needed was a live Superman.
Right.
So just the Justice League, let's just disband now because there's no point to you.
Yeah, and at the end, like Bruce Wayne, sort of reinvigorated by all this, goes back to the Bat Mansion and is like, oh, here we'll put a giant table with 6 chairs. And Wonder Woman is there too, and she's like, but room for more.
So, it's Justice League.
It's Justice League.
It is,
honestly, I'd watch Batman vs. Superman again before I watch this. Because Batman vs. Superman was like had a vision.
Yeah.
Had this, it was overwrought, it was operatic, it was crazy.
No, you're thinking Avengers 2 had the vision.
Oh God. Moving on. This was just a movie by committee. Like it was like a C plus of a movie. Like, yeah, you did the work. Yeah, it's there. There's nothing that exciting about it.
Yeah, it's just underwhelming on every level. And it's one of those deals where people are, the internet is clamoring for the Snyder cut, which apparently doesn't exist. But they could blah, blah. But anyway, I would actually, and I hate Zack Snyder, but I think I'd rather see the Snyder cut because at least it would be one cohesive thing for me to hate. So at least it would be a movie. This is it's just trailers.
A mishmash of stuff. Yeah.
It's really, I mean, and I say this, and I think the audience knows my mindset going into watching this film. This was disappointing.
And it honestly was.
That's
like
something.
I wanted it to be worse than it was or better than it was. And it was, it's, and we've talked about it before on the show, where it's just like, you get these sort of middling movies that are just more depressing because they are that just, well, that happened. Like I was forgetting this movie immediately after I saw it. Whereas there's things I can still, the hatred for Batman vs. Superman is still fresh in my mind because I can pinpoint specific things. This one, which I watched just as intently, just whoosh.
And then there's the post-credit sequence. Did you watch that bit?
Oh, no, I fast-forwarded, but I guess I fast-forwarded too fast.
Oh, yeah, there's a post-credit sequence where Flash and Superman decide to race. And it says the stakes are some funny thing that Bruce said. I don't remember. It was something that he doesn't like, and he referenced it earlier. And he goes, all right, we'll race to the West Coast. I've never seen that. And then he starts setting up the wrong way. He's like, oh, yeah, the West Coast is that way. As a callback. And it's like, oh, that was cute.
That's fun.
But that doesn't really world build at all. Like, I wouldn't have mind seeing, like, I don't know, a green hammer shows out of the sky.
But yeah, that might be much better than just a fun little... Because even the Avengers, the Avengers ended with a joke. With them just having shawarma. But, like, that also was this, we're a team. Like, this solidifies we're this team. Is a throwaway joke kind of thing, but it also was like, we're dining together. This thing, that's just like... Hey, I'm fast. You're pretty fast. Let's hang out.
Yeah.
That doesn't have that. So, yeah.
Don't watch this movie.
Yeah.
Ever. John, there's nothing like better than just riding some gnarly waves, riding some inline skates.
Oh, yeah.
You got any suggestions on what kind of movie I could watch with those things in mind?
No. I was going to suggest some sort of, like, gleaming of something. But I think you're looking for something...
Yeah, I'm not into geometry.
Yeah, I think you want to get...
Oh, wait.
More vertical, like kind of
what
in
if
the
I,
air?
What if I need some like bullshit snake oil for when my coworkers get sick?
Oh,
like Airborne. Oh, we should watch Airborne.
Yes, the tale of how that drug got made by a 90s kid.
Got made. Yes, so we are going to be watching Airborne.
The classic 1990s sports high school thrill ride.
It's from 1993.
Yeah.
Starring...
Seth Green is in it.
Yeah, Seth Green's in it. Jack Black's in it. And the lead guy is somebody that...
It's just some guy.
Just some guy.
Some hunk.
He's Shane McDermott. And Irene is Edie McClurg, who's she actually is someone.
Yeah, classic 90s Airborne.
Airborne. So watch it on your things, and we'll talk about it next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, John.
Hey, Alex.
You know what I hate?
What's that?
Podcasts that change their release date without telling you, and then you're like, well, where the hell is my podcast?
That sucks.
Yeah, I know. It's a pain in the ass. So maybe you guys picked up on that. Ham-handed? Ham-fisted?
Mm-hmm. Ham-mouthed?
Ham-mouthed. That ham-mouthed announcement that we're going to be coming out on Mondays now. Same thing every other week, but on Mondays because, we have other things to do, like, pay for our rent and food.
Right. And other things to hate.
Yes. Yeah, we actually have 3 other podcasts that we don't put on the internet.
Yes.
Yeah, John and Alexx hate...
Is this one even on the internet?
Yeah, John and Alexx hate that guy that keeps elbowing him at the bar. Anyway, so we're out on Mondays now, so now you know.